We're going to start off this lesson by taking a look at a few more pavé commands, our baguettes between two curves, and our springs between two curves. So we'll create a new file, generic template. I'm not going to give this part a name as I will not be saving it. Okay, let's create a block. We'll give it a length of 20, width of 10 and a height of 4. Okay, so in our pavé tab we have the baguettes between two curves command. This is similar to our gems between two curves command, except we'll be placing baguettes or tapered baguettes instead of the round gemstones. So I'm first going to create a channel in our block that we can use to pavé with our baguettes. So I'm going to insert a sketch on this top face, planar face. Let's create a simple channel with a bit of curvature. And getting narrower towards the end. And we'll make it a closed sketch. Okay, so we have no more of those blue squares indicating an open endpoint. Okay, that's what we want to see. We're going to extrude this shape to create the channel. Extrude the sketch, we'll do a symmetrical extrusion, 0.5 millimeters, half a millimeter channel depth. Confirm the operation. There's our channel. Okay, now let's take a look at our baguettes between two curves command. If we left click on our command, here we see quite a large options panel here in our input manager. We start off in the same way as with our gems between two curves by selecting curve A and a curve B and then the surface. Okay, you can see a preview already. We then have some similar options: elevation, distance between stones, the number, our mirror, our oversize, and we have a few more fields as well. At the bottom, our options, this gives us the option to bring in some bridges and V-cuts for our baguettes. Okay, so at the moment you can see our tapered baguettes in here. Let's increase the number. We'll give them a slight elevation. We can change the height of our gemstones using our gem depth. Okay, and the more we increase the number, the narrower our stones will become. Okay, we have an evenness field. Change my step size back to 1. Play around with this to see the effect. Okay, in this case it's not having a huge effect because we have a relatively uniform channel. Okay, and we also have two strategies, same ratio, same width. Okay, same width. All of our baguettes have the same width, as you may have noticed already. We have a same ratio strategy. Okay, and as you can see, our widths are not necessarily the same here, but our stones will have the same ratio in terms of their width and their length. Okay, so we can play around with these options to get a desirable outcome. We can give an oversize to our baguettes. This is going to increase our baguette's length. Okay, and this can be useful for the purpose of setting our stones so that they are within the channel wall so that they can be set in there. Okay, so you'll often want to give an oversize. Okay, now let's take a look at our bridging options. If I come into our wireframe display mode, here we can see our bridges. These are to give our stones a seat to sit on, and we have options to play around with our bridges. Okay, we can enable or disable them from this first option here. Okay, we can give our bridges elevations, bring them up higher or lower. We can change the depth of our bridges as well. We want to increase it to 4 so it comes out of the bottom of our block. We can also oversize our bridges to bring them in or out in terms of length. We're then able to change our bridge width and the top of the bridge angle. Okay, so they're all fairly intuitive fields here. At the bottom we have the chance to bring in a V-cut, okay, on the top of our stones. You can use the V-cut to remove material from our shapes. Okay, I'm going to disable this in this instance. I'm going to confirm the operation now. Okay, so our bridges and our stones will come in as components. Okay, so they are our baguettes in that channel. Okay, now let's just blank out our stones so we can see what is going on. Blank, pick our stones one at a time, confirm. Okay, so we have our bridges in here, but they're currently within our block. So what we need to do is create a complete channel by removing this face. Okay, we can do that by coming to our shape ribbon toolbar, face offset. If we pick the face, this face that we want to remove all the way through, we want to remove all the material. Okay, we can drag it down. Okay, but you can see it is creating a surface at the bottom here. We come into our intersections field, select remove all. Okay, it's going to remove the intersections and leave us with all of the material removed. Okay, let's confirm the operation. Okay, so you can see how our stones will sit onto our bridges here. Okay, we could leave it like this. Alternatively, instead of removing all of this material, we could come in, extrude the face, extrude it symmetrically, let's just say 4 millimeters, remove. Okay, and we can shrink it slightly. If we shrink it, say negative 0.25, we can create a seat running along the edge of our channel for our stones to sit on. Okay, and then we have the end parts we can remove in various ways. I'm just going to use my face offset method as before with the remove all intersections. Okay, it's quite a nice way to do things. Confirm the operation. You can add a chamfer to this edge. Let's set it to something realistic, 0.2. Okay, we can add all of our parts, but first we must merge our components here. In fact, we'll try the boolean straight away with these two shapes. To combine, add them to make one complete shape. Unblank all. Okay, so there our stones have the seats to sit on, and we can cut away this material at the bottom, the bridges. Let's do that quickly. Insert datum, 0 offset, trim, the datum plane. Flip side to keep. Okay. Obviously we can tidy this up, but this is just for our example. So this is our baguettes between two curves with the bridges for the stones to sit on. Okay, so that's quite a nice command there. Right, let's take our model stop up prior to all of our operations. I'm going to come into the Counter Design Studio, choose a pre-made ring template that we can pave using our springs between two curves command. So I'll just choose a closed ring shank. Okay, we can open up this screen to see a grid view of our shanks. If you have an earlier version of Light, you may be limited only to the carousel, but the grid version gives us a good way to view all of the available designs. Okay, so I'm just going to pick an arced ring shank, place it on my top datum, shape. Okay, I'm going to leave it with these dimensions. I'll merge the ring shank. Okay, so we have our merged ring shank here now. Let's come in with our pave command, our springs between two curves command. Okay, so this command uses a spring pattern method to place our gemstones on a surface between two curves. Okay, so we can fill the surface up nicely with this command. Okay, first thing to note is the placement. Okay, we have a few options here. We can choose to place our gemstones, for example, on curve A. Let's change it to touching curve. This will be our curve A, is this edge. Curve B is going to be on curve, and we'll pick the surface. Okay, so the difference here, curve B, on curve, curve A, touch curve. Okay, you can see that this means that the gemstone is either on the curve or touching the curve. Okay, if you want to change the option, just cancel out of the operation, come back into it again, change the options prior to picking the curves, the edges. Okay, so we have many options in here. Your stones will come in looking a bit funny first of all. We can sort this out. Let's first of all increase our number of rows. Let's say we'll have 3 rows of gemstones. Change my step size down or up to 1. Okay, points, the number of points that we want on each row. Let's increase this. Okay, you can start to see the gemstones forming something desirable now. Okay, so we know we can increase or decrease the number of rows. Our gem size, we can oversize our gems and also specify a minimum size for them, minimum size down here. In terms of a percentage, here we can pick specific points for our stones. You can also specify a minimum distance between our stones. In this case we have quite a large distance, so I'm not going to specify a minimum distance. We have stiffness and shrinking that can help us make changes to the placements and patterning of our stones. This evenness command is quite a nice one. I usually like to bring my evenness down to around negative 0.8. Okay, this can often help to sort out any issues with the pattern. Okay, so you just got to play around with these different options to get the kind of design that you want. Okay, we can confirm the operation when we have played around with our options. Okay, and you can see we can get a pretty nice result with this pave tool. Okay, and then you can come in, add the beads, cutters. We know how to do this. There's quite a big separation on our stones here, so maybe we would come in with some 4-prong settings. Okay, so that is our springs between two curves command, a different way to parve surfaces.